to another episode of Poly Talks. And in this video, we will be analyzing and discussing an updated prediction for the 2024 United States Senate elections. And yes, of course, we are over a year and a half out. But with that being said, I think once the election comes, it'll be here before we know it. It'll be very helpful to have a roughly monthly or even less or even more frequent detail and record and account of what the thoughts were at that time in the current political environment. And I think that'll be very fascinating to see if we can get them integrated within a timeline and kind of observe how my predictions have changed over time. I make a final video comparing my prediction and its various fluctuations with the ultimate results of the 2024 Senate elections, and then we can observe, just for kicks, which prediction was the most accurate. Who knows? It could even be this one. So, with that being said, we'll dive right on in here with characterizing the safe states, which I dare not say more about because I'm sure you are all very sick of hearing my spiel about margins and safe states at this point. But I'd say these are relatively solid at this time. I'm just going to say Iowa is safe because, or actually, I will let that go. I'll just stick with completely non-controversial at the moment. Florida, yes, same deal. I'll get to that. And I'd say Utah at this point is still safe. Who knows? By the election, it could change if we have a good candidate. And now, hold on, let me just make sure this is not the right map. So if I'll go and change, it's class. So if we take a class 1 election here, we can begin to characterize. So I'm sure you have all heard my spiel about safe states, and embarrassingly, that was the wrong map. So if you'll bear with me for a few more seconds, I will go. Okay. And then Democrat, on the Democrat side, we have Hawaii, and Washington, I'll say for now, is safe. North Dakota, of course, is safe. Democrat, that is Vermont, safe. New York is safe as well. So is New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, all of these states, all three of these. Connecticut, who knows, but I think it'll still be quite safe for Democrats by that time. And now we're ready to get into the likely states. So we'll start with Republicans. And first and foremost, we have Florida. This is no big surprise. I think Rick Scott is probably, if I have to say, the most vulnerable Republican senator up at the moment, which is kind of telling because he is not really any form of risk. I mean, he's not the strongest Republican candidate, but just considering the dynamics of Florida over the past few years, coupled with the very unfavorable map this year, I'd say he is likely, and Democrats will really, if they're clever, not invest too much to try and win the seat. Same deal with Texas. I'd say it's even less achievable for Democrats. Maybe if John Cornyn retires, which I don't expect him to, there can be an opening, but I just think Texas is not ready, especially in a presidential year, for a Democratic senator at the moment. And in addition to that, we will have not Ohio, but this is very controversial, but as of right now, I'm saying West Virginia is likely. Even if Joe Manchin runs, I just don't see him winning. He has been able to in the past, but politics right now is at a point where it's so polarized that in a presidential election year, where a Republican is almost guaranteed to win the state as a whole, it just almost seems impossible for me to see Joe Manchin win it. He definitely could. It wouldn't surprise me. But as of right now, I'm quite comfortable in characterizing this as likely red. But good news for Democrats is it ends there in terms of the likely states. So now we have the likely Democratic states. California, it has been shifting a bit blue the next few years, so I'll give it a likely blue. But again, it's definitely going to go Democrat. It's just the question is, I believe there will be two Democrats based on California's jungle primary system. There will be two Democrats running against each other, and those Democrats may become very competitive depending on which one. So to account for that error right now, we'll just put California as likely. And New Mexico is likely not much to be said. It has been slightly competitive in the past few years, but not to a degree that I feel comfortable characterizing it as anything less than likely. Virginia, as well, is likely for Democrats. Maine, there was technically an independent there who I will characterize as the Democrat because that's the party he caucuses with. I think it's likely, even though Susan Collins was able to win here in 2020. And Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar, I think will not face much of a difficulty over here. And that just about does it for Democratic likelies. And for Republican now, we have one more to characterize, which is the state of Ohio. And I believe this state will go lean red. Yes, Sherrod Brown is a strong candidate. He was able to win there quite substantially in 2018, but this year is not really comparable to 2018. And even if it was, we have seen such a rightward shift in the past few elections. Tim Ryan was able to do something last year, but I simply do not really see this as a great pickup opportunity, or I don't see this as a great opportunity for Democrats to retain the seat purely because of Ohio's rightward trend. So then we move on to more Democratic likelies, and I would say, or more Democratic states, these will be leans. And I'm actually going to say controversially, all three Rust Belt states are lean blue. Now, this may seem very shocking at first, given how Donald Trump was able to win and Ron Johnson was able to win. You'd think at least Wisconsin wouldn't be a lean blue. But assuming Tommy Baldwin runs, which I expect she will, she's very popular in the state. I don't give her much of a shot at losing the seat. So that's why Wisconsin is lean blue. Yes, in the state of Michigan, there is no incumbent running. The incumbent has announced her retirement. However, Michigan, besides the 2016 presidential election, it hasn't shown any signs of reverting back to Republican. So I'm going to say Democrat. And same for Pennsylvania. Bob Casey is just, I think, too strong a candidate to be swayed, and his seat, I believe, will remain Democrat by a lean margin. And then we have one more here, which I'll just go ahead and say is not Arizona, but Nevada. Because in Nevada, we have Jackie Rosen likely running for re-election. So what this means is Democrats have a strong incumbent running in a state where Republicans were not able to win on the Senate level in the past few years. And this just does not seem attainable to me for Republicans. So I'm going to say that Nevada is lean blue, as it typically does. That margin around 2.4% that has favored Democrats so recently, I say will remain the same. So last two states here. We have Montana and Arizona. So first of all, I'm going to characterize Montana as a tilt red. And of all the three Republican-held states that are very daunting for Democrats this year, I'd say Nevada has the highest chance of staying on the Democratic column, and that is because we know the incumbent running, John Tester, is just a very strong candidate. I think he's actually very underappreciated in how strong he is. He grew up on a farm, he lost fingers on a farm, and I just think that he might put up a very good fight, especially because I don't see any immediate Republican contenders to take him on. I just think he'll be a very strong opponent and will put up a good fight. But ultimately, Montana is a red state, so I'm going to have to say those two factors together, they're not enough to carry John Tester over the finish line and will instead favor whichever Republican candidate decides to run, whoever that may be. In the final state here, Arizona, I've saved it for last because it is the most juicy of these states, because I believe that Arizona will stay in the Democratic column by a tilt margin, and that tilt is meant to signify that I believe a Democrat or Democratic leaning candidate will win here, but I don't know who, and I'm keeping it at tilt, not at lean, as I would do if this was a two candidate race, because I have to account for the uncertainty that Kirsten Sinema brings to this race by not running as a Democrat. She will either not run for the seat, allowing, I think, a Democrat, Ruben Gallego, to win by a lean margin, or she will run this race. Although in that scenario, I still see a Democrat pulling through. This is, of course, a change of opinion. However, I just think that Arizona is shifting a little bit to the left, and I think that ultimately, uh, whatever happens in this race, I think one of the two Democratic leaning candidates will yield, and that will allow the other to win by a lean margin. So that is all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next Senate prediction, which will be in roughly a month. But the results of this one, 3 Republican pickups, I believe the same as my last prediction, which means Republicans in this scenario would control 52 seats and Democrats control 48, a clear majority for Republicans. That's all. Thank you so much, and see you in a future episode. Goodbye.